Dr. Corlino? Here. Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Mrs. Fano? Here. Mr. Grau?
Here.
Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Petrosino?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Here. Dr. McGrath?
Present. Okay, pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open public meeting notice, please.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on February 24th, 2023.
Thank you. So tonight we have a presentation from the ballot for musicians in just a moment, and then afterwards we're going to add an additional item to the presentations. I understand we have a number of speakers here tonight talking about E. And then after that, we're going to go back into the regular agenda for the enrollment forecast analysis and possible solution presentation. So, Dr. Gordon.
Dr. Kennedy?
Good evening. We are so happy to be here, and I'd like to introduce an extraordinary musical educator, Mrs. Samantha Irons. Take it away, Sam.
Hello, we are so happy to be here today. My name is Mrs. Irons. I'm a music teacher at Valley View, and here are our 5th grade org students, Ina Yu, Sophie Lang, Stephanie Cup, and Cameron Kessler, and a few others we featured in the video. They are going to tell you a little bit about what's being presented. Stephanie?
Org Club is a club that meets during recess once a week. In this club, we learn to play xylophones, boom records, recorders, drums, and other non-pitch percussion instruments throughout the school year.
Org Club is offered to 4th and 5th graders at Valley View. 5th grade Org Club has performed in their winter concert and will be in this performance and their musical in June. 4th grade Org Club will perform in the musical One Nation with Character that will be performed on April 19th.
Org Club is named after Carl Org, who started the Org method of music education, which made classic instruments more accessible for everyday learning and life. Please enjoy this video of the 5th grade Org Club students playing Montville Music Festival.
The video.
a lot of us that just saw the high school musical, we see how it starts and then how it ends over this past weekend. So it all starts off with these, these classes and these clubs. We appreciate your dedication and time that all the students and you are putting into this. So we really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
And so now I believe after we speak, okay, so technically this is our first public participation session. And we're going to be speaking on the subject of holiday schedule, calendar.
Okay. Bree wants to introduce me and moderate. Is that okay?
Can you wait one second? We're going to give you the ground rules.
Okay.
Okay, so again, it's a public participation section. We ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes and out of respect to other people who would like to speak. And we would also like to ask that you bring new items when you come to speak. Okay? And when you come to the microphone, please give us your name and address. Yes, please. Perfect.
My name is Amber Hussein Rizvi, and my address is 5 Darrell Court, Montville. I've been a Montville Muslim community member for 16 years now, and we're here today with many of the Montville Muslim community members, and we'd like to talk about these days off, and I think you guys have all had enough of my emails in the past, so I'm going to go with this speaker. So Nadia Qureshi is going to be the first one speaking.
Can everybody hear me?
Your name and address.
Nadia Qureshi, 33 Crescent Road, Plainfield, New Jersey.
Could you speak louder?
Hold on. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, Nadia Qureshi, 33 Crescent Road, Plainfield, New Jersey. Car resident of Montville for 33 years and PHS class of 95. I have 3 kids, one in Montville High School, one in Mozart, and one in Woodlawn Elementary. I've already had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Gorman. I am here today speaking on behalf of the Montville Muslim community to request that the board discuss implementing days off on the school calendar for 2 religious holidays, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, starting in the next school calendar year. We are asking that the board add this to next week's agenda. The urgency to discuss lies in the fact that the holy month of Ramadan is starting at the end of March, and the community wants to be present to recognize the momentous occasion of the board honoring Holocaust. Growing up in town, I have seen a significant increase in the Muslim population. There were only 3 or 4, and about my class, about 225. Today, in my daughter's 3rd grade class, 6 out of the 17 students are Muslim. So, to reference Dr. Gorman's column, these dreams. Can you hear me? I've always...
Mark. Just want to stand for her, please. Just doesn't have to reach out. Sure, that's exactly.
Can we hold it in our hand?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
Should I do this again, guys?
No, you're good.
Should I do it again? Okay. So to reference Dr. Gorman's column, Peace Dreams, I've always dreamed that my school would recognize my holiday, but the board can make the dream into a reality for our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to have Mr. Goldfarb, who's been a long Montville community member, and you guys have probably seen him in many events, so I'm going to have him speak.
Assalamu alaikum. This is a Muslim greeting for peace be upon to you all.
I'm sorry. Please. No,
I was going to say that actually my next slide is there. So after
Your name and
greeting,
address.
Okay. So good evening to you, board member. My name is Gul Khan, K-H-A-N last name, first name G-U-L. I live on 21 Cheyenne Drive, next to William Mason. I have been a community member for the last 14 years. We love living in Montville, and also we really enjoyed raising our kids here, going to school and programs. I think you all do a fantastic job. It's a great school system and great extracurricular activities. Now, me and my family, we always believe in giving back to the community. I have served on Township Committee, Open Space Committee for 5 years. And I hope to continue on other committees, my background in engineering and construction. I also believe in bringing the community together, so I have started, and maybe some you may have attended, different faiths, one family, interfaith event. And bring all churches, all synagogues, all Islamic centers, bring communities together. We hold 2 events. I recognize some of the faces. We do Thanksgiving interfaith event, and we also do one in Ramadan, and I hope I can invite you all of you to join us. In addition to that, I have been a speaker on 9/11 event, Remembrance event, just to make sure that the whole people that have Islamophobia, that we all equally heard, because I have asked some people I knew that. Okay? So now, going back to my kids. I have 2 kids in Montville High School system. When they were going to school, they did not have any holiday. They had to take a day off. They would miss classes. And every time we had to explain them why they don't have this as a holiday. But we need to be engaged in the community. You all need to, as Sister Nadia said, when the community is growing, get to know your neighbors, your friends. And what I did was in the clinical program, the other programs, also, I saw other community members getting engaged. So back 7, 8 years ago, one of your high school junior decided to join Montville Festival Squad. I remember going with him and introducing, the captain and giving an application. He was only 16. He wanted to be first year squad, and it took him a few months before he qualified. And for the last 7, 8 years, he's been serving as a volunteer, as an EMT and CPR trainer for the Montville First Year Squad. Why that story is important is the second part of it. That student continues serving community over holidays, over the weekend, and with the on-call other shifts. Made a lot of friends, attended a lot of calls, helped a lot of people. But what is the most unique about was that on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for the last several years, he decided to be on the call. And why was that? Because he wants to make sure with his friends they can go and spend their time with families, so they can enjoy their holiday. So 24 hours, all night shift, he did that. Now that kid is my son Sal Kong. Some of you probably know him, and I'm very, very proud of him. So I asked board that you please be Sal. You have a power to make a decision. So all those young kids here today, they're here because they would like to have their holiday on Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, and starting on April 21st, which is the first holiday after Ramadan. I think you have power to make that announce their holiday. Thank you very much.
Okay, so from this point on, you're gonna have the kids are wanting to speak. So if they forget to say their address, we can just let them speak and let them go with their rhythm. They're all Montville Township school kids, okay? All right. We're gonna start with the youngest members first. So we have Yahya, Zakaria, and Isa. Zakaria and Isa are in the same grade class. All right?
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Yahya Ali. I'm in 3rd grade at Valley View School. Two of the most important holidays for Muslims are Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, for which I would like school to be off. Eid al-Fitr occurs after the end of Ramadan, a sacred month, and Eid al-Adha comes after Hajj, a pilgrimage. I want school to be off for Eid as we get together with family and friends to celebrate all day like we do on other holidays when school is off. Also, other non-Muslim friends can celebrate with us when school is off. I don't want to miss my class and schoolwork on these holidays. It can be very stressful to make up.
Hello, Dr. Gorman and Board of Ed members, and assalamu to my Montville Muslim community. My name is Isa Risby, and I'm in 5th grade and currently go to Valley View Elementary School. I am here tonight because I want to tell why Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, two of my religious holidays, are important to me and my community, and why I should be off just like other holidays celebrated by other religions. Eid is a holiday that is greatly appreciated by everyone in my religion, Islam. My community and I make many sacrifices to our daily routines in the holy month of Ramadan. During Ramadan, we devote our time to praying, fasting, from sunrise to sunset, and donating money and food to different charities and all who need it. As Muslims in Islam, these actions pay off to our annual holiday Eid. On this special day, we will do many traditional things with family and friends. Unfortunately, while I'm enjoying myself on a holiday that is part of my religion, I am missing school, which means missing important lessons and assignments that will need to be made up. In fact, there have been numerous times when me and my siblings have had to bring our schoolwork to our celebrations just so that we wouldn't have to worry about our assignments not being completed, whether it is on Eid or the day after. Sometimes my school classmates don't really realize how important this special occasion is to me because it's not off, meaning some people cannot realize the importance of a holiday unless it is shown by having it off. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Make the right decision for all the Muslims today.
Good morning, Board of Ed members. My name is Zachariah Ali, and I'm in 5th grade, and I go to Valley View Elementary. I'm going to tell you why we should have Eid off. One reason why we should have Eid off is because it is a very important holiday for us Muslims. Eid al-Fitr is right after the holy month of Ramadan, and Eid al-Adha is right after a pilgrimage called Hajj. It is as important as Christmas and Hanukkah. Another reason why we should have Eid off is because if not, we will miss important academic work. While celebrating while having the stress of unfinished work is not fun. And lastly, we should have Eid off because we get to spend time with family and friends after a month of fasting and a pilgrimage. We wake up early to go to pray, and after we pray, we spend time with family and friends and exchange gifts and money. We can also celebrate with our friends that are not Muslims to show how important and special this holiday is to us. This is why we should have Eid off. Thank you.
Now we're going to have Manha and Shireen. They're our middle school kids. So we did the grammar school kids, now they're our middle school kids.
Hi everyone, my name is Manha and I'm in 2nd grade at Robert Arlo's Middle School. I believe we should have Eid off because of how many Muslims there are in our community. As a student in Montville since kindergarten, I have been very frustrated seeing other holidays off and not having Eid off. At Lazar last year, the school started NJSLA state testing on Eid day. This was a pain because after Eid, I had to miss my classes so that I could make up with NJSLA. Ramadan is when Muslims fast for 1 month, and Eid al-Fitr is a celebration after. At the middle school, we are having a field trip on the last day of Ramadan. This is an inconvenience because while all my friends are going to be enjoying, I will be fasting due to my religion. Having Eid off would help us a lot as we won't have to worry about making up any work from our classes. All in all, I think Eid is a very important celebration and is just as important as any other holiday.
Good evening. My name is Shireen Syed, and I'm currently an 8th grader at Lazar. Eid is an important religious festival celebrated by millions of people around the world. It marks the end of Ramadan, a month-long period of fasting and spiritual reflection. Many students, including myself, observe this holiday and request the day of school to observe their religious traditions and spend time with loved ones. Additionally, recognizing and respecting diverse culture and religious celebrations can foster a more inclusive and accepting school environment. Inclusivity is an extremely important value, and giving the day of Eid off will increase this and boost the view of others have on our town. Again, Eid is a day of celebration, worship, and quality time with loved ones. For the past 9 years, I've been a part of the Montville Township public school system. I've always had to take the day off for Eid. With being sick, family emergencies, and all the other possibilities that someone can be out of school, it doesn't make sense that we should have to lose a day of learning for our own holiday. On Eid, Muslims start the day by going to pray in the mosque as a community. There is a certain prayer for the day of Eid which signifies togetherness amongst family, friends, neighbors, and relatives. This prayer does take place during the school hours. Going to this prayer every year is something very special to me, and having to skip school for it doesn't really seem right. Since other religious groups have days off and celebrate and do their religious commitments, I believe that it's fair that we have Eid off as well. Thank you for listening, and I sincerely hope that our needs will be given consideration.
And now I'd like to have our high school students come up, so that's Amina, Dara, Rhiannon, Samia. I mean, there's a lot of them, and I wanted to do this because it's really important that you guys listen to what they have to say. They're very mature, and they really hone in on the point, so please pay attention to them.
Good evening. My name is Bahira Chaudhary. I live at 44 Bellows Lane, Tawaka. I'm a current freshman attending Montville Township High School. Almost 2 years ago, I moved into Montville in July 2021 for my 8th grade year at Lasal. As I went through my 8th grade year and Eid was around the corner, I asked many of my Muslim peers in school if they were excited for Eid. All the festivities, food, family gatherings, etc. When I asked these questions to my peers, they responded with something along the lines of, yeah, I am extremely excited. And obviously, I felt the same, because it's Eid, the time where I feel happiest and at home. But after I asked them these questions, I saw their gloomy faces. I asked why they looked so down, and got the response was something like, I am excited, but it's just that we do not even get Eid off in the schools. And I actually was shocked. I honestly could not believe it. One of the reasons is that I had met many Muslims at Lazar in my first few weeks of my 8th grade year. I thought about all the Muslims in Montville that I hadn't even met yet, like in the elementary schools and the high school. I knew there would be many more Muslims I had yet to meet. In addition to many of them I met at Lazar. It was a shock to me, and I did not believe it for some time. So I went on the school calendar, and there it was. Just a normal holiday for all the schools, not an off day for Eid. Eid is such a crucial holiday to billions of Muslims around the world. After a month of fasting in our religious devotion, in my opinion, we get the best holiday ever, where we spend time with our families we barely see on normal days, the prayers we perform, and the memories we make. At my previous school, located in Wayne, we had Eid off, so the anxiety of missing a day of school was not present. Last year, when I had gone down south to Tennessee to see my family, I had to miss school. Not just a normal day, but the day of the English Language Arts NJSLA. And on the side of that, the pile of the work from my other classes. Of course, I take full responsibility for the other days I had missed, due to the huge travel between New Jersey and Tennessee. But the day of Eid was not my fault. That was my day, the entire community of Muslims day to celebrate their religious holiday. It's the fact that people who celebrate Christmas and other holidays can take the time to go see their families without consequences. But us, we don't get that same privilege. And yes, I did have to email all my teachers about my missing work on that day. Imagine the mothers who, after a month of fasting, taking care of their own kids, and fathers too, during the tough month of Ramadan, have to email all their little children's teachers why they're missing school and what they would need to make up. It's a huge time consumer. When I came back after Eid from Tennessee, I had to miss my classes again to make up for my NJSLA during those classes. Then, at that point, I had missed piles and piles of work. I want everyone to understand the struggles us Muslims go through after fasting for a month and finally getting a celebration to just not have the day off. It is our day, and it is important to us to celebrate our religious holiday. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, Board of Education members. My name is Samia Hamiduddin, and I live at 33 Crescent Road. I am a freshman at Montville Township High School with little siblings at Woodmont and Lazar. I believe that it is important for Muslims like us to spend Eid with our families without having to worry about missing school. Eid al-Fitr is a Muslim holiday that marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Eid al-Adha is another Muslim holiday that marks the beginning of Hajj, a pilgrimage to Mecca, and honors the sacrifices of Prophet Abraham. For many people, these holidays are a time of peace and joy spent with friends and family. There are instances where I have missed out on various activities, such as the geography B in 5th grade, and JSLA testing, and other important tests. I remember getting into the geography B for the first time and being disappointed that I could not participate. I would like to be able to spend time with loved ones without having to miss out a day of learning. Not only would we have the burden of making up work, but parents of younger children will have to worry about sending emails to their children's teachers. Last year, I had the pleasure of starting a prayer group with my Muslim friends during lunch, which sparked conversation with many of my non-Muslim friends. Since we get to learn about other religions, holidays, and traditions, I would love to share my religion and culture with my peers outside of my friend group.
Hello, my name is Rayhana Shamsun, and I'm currently a freshman at MPHS with little sisters at both Lazar and Lima. I'd like to help run through the discussion surrounding Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha and why we should recognize them as official holidays in the Montville Township Public School calendar. I've been through the New Jersey public school system since I was in kindergarten, and I consider myself to be a fairly well-rounded student. I partake in a multitude of clubs and sports, as well as keep my grades high. I love to learn and have always loved to learn. Nonetheless, I've been willing to disregard that love for the sake of my religion year after year, regardless of the stress that comes with having to make up work, a pile of work as a result. A day that should be spending quality time with family ends up becoming a time where just as much concern is put on tests, assignments, and other work that we miss because Eid is not giving a day off. This doesn't feel fair. No one should ever feel like they have to choose between their faith and their education. But there's more to it than just making up both loads of work. I, as well as my Muslim peers, are not unaccustomed to stares of confusion when we don't eat at lunch, because children are completely unaware of Islamic practices and holidays. All of us lightly joke around about the constant, not even water, that we get asked by our classmates every Ramadan, despite answering it year after year after year. The fact remains that almost none of our classmates are aware of Islamic customs, and part of the reason as to why stems from the fact that we do little to educate children on these topics or even recognize them. We have both the tools and the power to do our part in helping issues like this resolve. Having Eid off not only benefits the Muslims in the community, but also the rest of Montville children, ultimately helping to raise a more educated future generation. We must take the next step to making Montville a more diverse and inclusive place for everyone by recognizing Eid as an official holiday. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Amna Niazi. I live at 47 Changebridge Road, and I am a 9th grader in the Montville Township High School and a fellow Muslim. For as long as I can remember, Eid has been a holiday I look forward to. The literal translation of Eid al-Fitr is the festival of breaking fast, and the meaning of Eid al-Adha is the festival of sacrifice. Upon the conclusion of Ramadan, Muslims around the world celebrate Eid al-Fitr by gathering with their families to pray, eat, and just have a good time. Many people feel Christmas is their favorite day of the year. In fact, Christmas music can start playing as early as right after Halloween. For me, Eid is the most wonderful time of the year, and many Muslims can relate. The only thing that takes away from this joyous occasion is the schoolwork. Because we never have a day off of school for Eid, all the Muslims in our school return with a stack of homework to make up for classes. The night before, we wake up at 6 a.m. to read the Eid prayer and go to sleep as late as 3 a.m. Instead of returning stress-free, we are bombarded with makeup work and papers due. Especially now that many of us are in high school, the amount of work to make up is significantly larger. Not only is there talking about this on a personal level, on a societal level, here are a few reasons as to why we should have Eid off. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are, Islam is one of the 3 major religions in the world. In fact, it is the second largest with 1.9 billion followers as of 2020. As such, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are major holidays. Holidays of all religions should be celebrated. As 8th graders, we were able to get Lazar to allow us to praise Zohar during lunch. This was our first step towards diversity. Now, Montville needs to have Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha off to further promote equality and promote diversity. By allowing this holiday off, it will make the numerous Muslims in our school feel safer and more accepted. Fluent schools have already taken this step forward, and Montville has an even larger Muslim population, and we should follow suit. Thank you for your time, and I strongly urge you to agree to have a day off for the Islamic holidays of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Hello, my name is Hiba Imran, and my address is 10 Garden Stairs, Montville, New Jersey.
religion and holidays, especially when Muslims like us only have 2 holidays to celebrate. Islam is the second most practiced religion in the U.S., and although there might not be hundreds and hundreds of Muslims in our town, there are enough that matter. In my experience on Eid or Ramadan in my school, no one is even aware about it. For example, in 5th grade, I had been looking forward to the Jeff Lake field trip for all of elementary school, but they put it on Eid, and I missed out on my last elementary school opportunity. Another time in 6th grade, a field trip for art club was on Eid, where I could choose again between my faith and experiences that only happened once. Last year, an AP exam was on Eid, and my friends had to take a 3-hour exam on a holiday that was meant to spend with family. These occurrences should not happen again. Over the years, the only day off of school I have taken is on Eid, because I hate missing schoolwork. I hope and pray that the dream I've had since kindergarten will come true before I leave the high school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marie Hussein, and I'm a junior at MTHS. They say junior year is the hardest, and from experience, I would say the same. As a young Muslim with Ramadan coming up, I'm definitely excited for all the festivities. It can be very hard to focus in class when I'm fasting, since the majority of the time I'm thinking about when I can finally eat. Then, when the month of Ramadan is over, we have a big holiday party, where we spend time with friends, family, and eat tons of food and get rest from a long month of fasting. Every year, my family and I have to take a day off from either school or work. I know a few friends who are so afraid of being behind in class that they choose to go to school on such a holy day for us. And I find that very frustrating and upsetting because we should be rewarded for our efforts at the end of the month, instead of feeling overwhelmed by the amount of schoolwork that we have to make up once we get back. Especially as a junior, taking harder classes and really keeping up with work and grades, I want a day off to be able to relax with my family instead of thinking about when I have to make up all our work. I recall a time in 7th grade when my class went on a field trip on the day of Eid. It was a huge trip to some amusement park, and I missed out on it. Sure, I did enjoy my time at home, but I felt very left out, and I was so devastated because I was looking forward to that trip, the same way everyone else in my grade was looking forward to it. It's really unfair that Muslims have to choose between a religious holiday and other events like trips, state testing, assignments, tests at school, and so much more. If the Board of Education could just work together for us to just get only one day off, it would be very much appreciated by all. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, Dr. Gorman, Board of Education members, and assalamu alaikum to my Montville Muslim community members. My name is Ariz Rizvi. I'm currently a junior at Montville Township High School, and I'm here to share why it is very important for me as a Muslim to have the Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha day off. Eid is a monumental and special day for the people of Islam, and we have generations of tradition and culture practiced on the day of Eid as we gather with family and celebrate together the tough, beautiful ending of the journey of Ramadan, the month of fasting. As we celebrate, pray, and enjoy ourselves during the day, it is inevitable that we will have to make up work from the school day we have now missed, and occasionally have to even do schoolwork in between celebrating Eid. There have been many occasions where I have missed multiple tests, important lessons, essay due dates, and more because I was recognizing and celebrating the holiday of my religion. I also have the point of view that the other kids never really have to worry that much when it comes to their holiday, as they have their holiday as a school day off, and therefore don't have to worry about makeup work. In addition, I feel that my classmates don't even realize that Eid is an important day for Muslims because when other known holidays come up, they're off from school. Which makes me think that the celebrated holiday of Islam is not as recognized and understood. I would like to feel that the value of Islam is equivalent to the value and celebration of other religious holidays. Having the day off would show me in the Muslim community that Eid is observed properly while ensuring Muslim students and staff do not face academic and professional disadvantages. Thank you everyone for your time, and I really hope that now there can be some change in the Montville Township School District, starting with having the school day off on Eid.
Okay, now, lastly, I'd like to introduce the member from the CARE New Jersey Council on American Islamic Relations, a member of the Muslim Civil Rights and Advocacy Group, Brothers That Descend. who will be speaking tonight, and then we'll close off our musicians.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salatu salam ala Sayyidina wa Habibina Nabina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi. Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Zaid Hussein. As you can tell, I'm not a student of the Montville School District. I don't know if the beard gave it away. And as you all know, I'm the outreach coordinator for the Council on American Islamic Relations, the New Jersey chapter. For those who are not familiar, CARE is a civil rights and advocacy group for Muslims, the oldest and largest in America. Our task and our mission statement is to educate, empower, and defend Muslims from discrimination, from Islamophobia, and from general lack of education. I don't have to say too much about this case because I believe that our illustrious youth of the Montville community has done such an excellent job. So I feel like any reiteration of their points is superfluous. But I will say this. Throughout my time as someone who is a representative of CARE and who has dealt with the Muslim youth the past couple of years, I will say that the biggest issue in the Muslim community is the identity of the youth. A lot of them don't want to be Muslim. A lot of them feel that they're going to be ostracized because Islam is not compatible with the public school system. Whether it be a day off, whether it be the inability to pray in school, whether it be just small things maybe in the lessons that they will encounter. And I know in 2023, the main trend for a lot of schools is inclusivity and diversity. And I do believe that the Montville Board of Education does take this mission very seriously. So I ask you, with all sincerity, with the entire community behind me, and the entire community behind the youth, please consider both Eids off. And please make sure that they are accounted for with every ounce of detail that you guys can provide. And if you have any questions, I can tell you that there's at least 5 or 10 people here who can help you without an issue. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak before we close out? I just want to say to the kids, thank you so much. I learned a great deal just from listening to you. It was very nice of you to come up here and present your side and present your opinions and your experiences. It helps us to understand the impact of this decision that we have to make about the calendar. Foreman, did you want to?
Saying the same thing, we see the students doing the musician, the instruments tonight, and we see our other students performing and talking at these different board meetings and informing us. So we really appreciate all the students coming out tonight. This is an issue that has been brought to our attention. I've made the board aware of this. We are working on the 24-25 calendar. So that's 2 years. We're always working 2 years in advance. Next year's calendar has already been set last year. But this is something that's of great importance that obviously everybody cares about. We understand that the community has been changing over a number of years. We'll be looking into this, and we'll be discussing this as a board along with the other administrators in the district. So we thank you for your passion. We thank you for sharing your culture and your religion with us. And then we'll be getting back to you in a little bit about this.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I would like to offer an opportunity that I know some of the kids here have school tomorrow. If you need to leave to go home to get to bed and finish your studies, we understand that. But the rest of everyone else is welcome to stay. We are going to have a presentation on the enrollment forecast analysis and the possible solutions to the potential increase in enrollment that we're going to be experiencing in the future. And so let's just take a couple of minute break.
Thank you very much. That's all. I know you guys discussed that the calendar has been made. Our concern and our request as well is to please look back at the 2023 and 24 calendars. And also another request, and that's not on the bullet, I think everybody has those points,
Correct.
is if we have not used the school days of the snow school days this year, that it's on April 21st, please consider that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so we're going to take just a quick 3-minute break, and then we're going to come back and start talking about enrollment forecast.
So thank you to the community members that are joining us tonight. This is our third presentation we've done in the past 3 months on this issue. And tonight we're going to be talking about the analysis of the enrollment. The other PowerPoint presentations are also on the website. And tonight we're also going to be talking about some proposed solutions. Thank you, Christine. So, based on the feedback we had from the last meeting, we decided to focus on just the elementary schools. Although the enrollment does affect all of grade levels, the problem is acutely at the elementary level and where the issues of solving problems are going to reside. So, if you just look at this chart from left to right, we're going to just read it together. We have right now, the schools can hold about 1,500 students at the elementary level. Then when you look at the enrollment that we currently have, we have 1,600 kids. So that gives us an unhoused population of 105 students. What that means is it's not anything illegal or anything like that, but it just means that we're overcrowded already at the elementary level. If you look at the growth increase, which is the yellow column there, it shows over the next 5 years, we're going to be getting an additional 147 students. That is because of migration patterns to Montville, as well as the increased birth rates. And then the purple grouping is the new housing. So you're going to be looking at another 150, 160 new students that are projected to be coming into the district because of that. So when you add those columns together, you're looking at, over the next 5 years, 410 unhoused students over the next several years. And we have to find a place to place them and educate them. So our enrollment at the elementary level is predicted to be at 1,900. That 1,900 number is 305 new students that will be increased here. And then we already talked about the 105 that were unhoused, giving me the whole total number of 410. But that's a 19% increase over the current year. And as I said before, it's due to new housing, increased birth rates, and changes in the migration patterns that is causing this issue. Over the past 10 years, we've been using the space at the elementary schools slightly differently. We have special education students that we've brought back to the district, and we've increased that number by 65%. Because of that, we've also increased the support staff to help them with social workers, speech therapists, occupational therapists, behaviorists. We've also increased by 55% the number of rooms at the elementary level that we're using to help this population. And then we're also increasing the number of services and staff and faculty of the basic skills instruction, as well as the English language learners. So we investigated 5 possibilities, 5 solutions. One is to do nothing, to look at the class size, and just hope it's going to dissipate over the years. But again, we have 410 unhoused students that are predicted in the next 5 years. We could purchase modular classrooms at $250,000 per unit. That's about 24 trailers, give or take. But we'd have to get special permission from the state, and these trailers can only be temporary. You can build a new school on existing property or purchase new land. If you purchase new land, 1, you have to have the land that's available. 2, you have to go out for a referendum and have the townspeople say yes, then go out and purchase the land. And building a new school on existing property is more expensive than just adding on to the schools. Plus, you also have to think about the added personnel that would be required if you go to those other schools. If you redistrict the students and pass a referendum to expand just all these extra students at 2 of the elementary schools, there's difficulties with that as well. There's restrictions due to topography, which are bedrock, distant property lines, elevation, wetlands, and then you'd be looking at, say, about another 200 plus students in each of these buildings that we'd be talking about, plus the redistricting, plus cafeteria space, gym space, and a lot of scheduling issues that go along with that. So we looked into all those solutions. This is just one highlight that we'll talk about a little bit later too, but I just want to quickly just show you that Woodmont was a good example. If you look at the topography of Woodmont, you see that we have wetlands in that yellowish type at the very top there, you have historical landfill, you have wetlands, you have protected species, you have a lot of different things that we can't build on a lot of this property. So you're limited to the very small spot at the bottom of Woodmont where that baseball field is. And like I said, if you're going to build there new construction, you have personnel issues as well as new construction costs, which may be higher than what you're looking at with any kind of a renovation. So the recommended solution is to add classrooms to the different elementary schools that are existing right now. So what we're proposing is looking at 4 additional classrooms at Cedar Hill, 4 additional classrooms and security vestibule at Hilldale, 5 at Valley View, 6 at William Mason, including that we eat into the parking lot a little bit, so that means you have to relocate the parking lot. And at Woodmont, same thing, 5 classrooms and relocating the parking lot a little bit. This would come to a total result of 24 classrooms. So I'm going to break down each of the classrooms, what it would look like, and the proposed changes. So the blue would be renovations to the classrooms. We remodel some of those classrooms to house some of the students that we currently have. And then the orange is new classrooms that we'd be building. So this is Cedar Hill, and if you're looking at Cedar Hill, the top of the page is the road. So you'd be looking at the school. The big box at the top there is the gymnasium. So the orange part is where the current playground is, and that playground would have to be relocated. At Hilldale, if at the bottom of the page, that's the parking lot, you're looking at the school. You would build in front of the school, you would add 4 additional classrooms, a security vestibule, and in the red would be a proposed possible additional cafeteria. That's not in that estimated cost right there. Again, at Valley View, this time you'd be building in the back of the school. You'd be looking at 5 additional classrooms and some, you see with the blue, some of the renovations to the school. At William Mason, at the top of the page, and you're looking at the school, to the right-hand side would be the addition where you'd be looking at 6 additional classrooms, and in the red, a possible cafeteria. This would go along the edge of the fence line, and then eat into the parking lot a little bit so that you'd have to relocate some of those parking spots and another spot on that school grounds. And lastly, at Woodmont, you'd be looking at 5 additional classrooms and a possible cafeteria. This would be where the colored section is, the red and the orange. To the right, that's where the main road is, looking down the hill. So that would be right when you're pulling into the driveway with the different parking spots right in front of Woodmont. That's where you would build, and then you'd have to relocate some of that parking spots to other areas on school grounds. So when you put that all together, we're going so well. Led to the conclusion, right? Let's go back. One more. Yeah. All right. So what you'll be looking at is the 24 classrooms for a total of $42 million. The problem with the reason why the price is higher now, you're looking at increased wages because of worker shortages. You're looking at the scarcity of resources, and you're also looking at increase in inflation rates for a lot of the different materials and things like that. While you're looking at that, we also have to address a number of other issues that are a problem with our district right now with aging facilities. One of them is the HVAC system, the heating and cooling systems in our schools. They're way past their age They were all original units. Over the past number of years, we've been trying to slowly replace them, but that will take several years to do. So we're throwing it out there that if you look at that, we can add security vestibules and three ventilators. So you're looking at security vestibules. That is something that has become very apparent that a lot of parents are concerned about, as well as the HVAC units that need to be replaced and have to be replaced in the next several years. And then, as I mentioned, the cafeterias. There's 3 of the elementary schools that do not have cafeterias. 2 of them do, and we'd be looking at additional cafeterias for these projects. So the next steps that we're putting out there, to gather the information from the community, consultants, stakeholders, complete the submission at the next board meeting, and have the architects submit this information down to the Department of Education. They will review the architectural drawings and the educational specifications. We will convene some focus groups to look at try to get input from parent organizations in the community, and then we will also talk to the district consultants for architectural, legal, and financing options. All this will be rolled out over the next month or 2. The timelines for a possible referendum would be, you could go, September 26th is the earliest you could go. That's a tight timeline, because if we submit all the drawings and everything to the state after the March 14th meeting, the state is allowed 6 months to approve everything. The state is working with very few workers right now. It would be a very aggressive timeline, but it would be one that we'd be shooting for. The next referendum opportunity would be Election Day on November 7th. This provides the architect and the state an additional 6 weeks. However, the county then gets additional timelines and eats into that 6 weeks. So although you're looking at 6 weeks, it actually shrinks to a little bit less because of what the county then requires. And then the last opportunity of this year would be December 12th, and the passing rate for all 3 of these dates is relatively the same. So, of course, we'd be trying to go for the September 26th, but if we were not able to meet that because of the state and not being able to approve everything that we need on time, we'd have to be looking at November or even December. So I'm going to submit this report to the board. I'm going to open it up to any questions. We have Perez Somjan here, we have Will Ross, and Keith Soltis right here with us. They'll be able to answer any of our questions or add to any of the things I just said if you want me to go back to that Woodmont presentation as well.
Okay. After the Woodmont drawing.
If you guys want to speak, just grab the mic, please.
Okay. Mike, you had your hand up real quick.
Well, first, I'm just good evening, and thank you for having us. I don't have anything to add. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, or I can, elaborate on the specific site if you have questions on that.
I think we'll probably just go ahead and start board member questions. That's okay. Mike, you were eager to talk, so.
Well, first of all, thank you for the presentation. Thank you to the administration for the initiative of doing this. This is all very good for our community, and was in favor of anything that gives the students better facilities. I do have some reservations about a couple of things. One being the cafeterias. Now, are these cafeterias going to be part of the referendum? Are they going to be additional questions?
The board would have to decide that. I just put out there all the proposed projects you can do. However you want to package them together, it is up to you.
Okay, well, I would feel very strongly, that the cafeteria should not be a separate question. It should not be one of those, well, if the main thing passes, then we go to the cafeteria. Because right now, I don't know what the incentive would be for 2 of the 5 districts to vote for those if they're getting absolutely nothing that benefits their children. I mean, you've got 2 schools right now that have both a gym and a cafeteria. One actually has 2 gyms in the cafeteria. And the other schools just have one room functioning as both. And if we're going to do this referendum, I just don't think it should be an option as to whether or not to say, yeah, I'll vote for what helps my school, but I won't vote for what helps somebody else's school. So I really feel very strongly that should be part of making that issue. Second of all, regarding the roads, I'm still not convinced that this is going to solve many of the geographic problems. I have a lot of concern that you're dealing with one school this is going to become, I feel again, people building schools is basically all apartments. And believe me, there's nothing wrong with people living in apartments, but apartments in general, there's nothing wrong. But I've seen what happens when you have schools predominantly apartments and becomes, by the time you get to fifth grade, what you got in kindergarten is completely different. I can only go by my daughter's experience that she started kindergarten, 66 kids in the class, 44 in the houses, 22 in the apartments. By fifth grade, 36 of the 44 in the houses were still there, 19 of the 22, the apartments were gone. There's never been a study that says mobility is a good thing, so I really do have some concerns as to whether or not we're sending one school to the mobility school.
Thanks, Mike. I would point out another advantage to the cafeterias is that they do function also as an instructional space. And that's a big part of that. They can have music classes there. They can have whole grade assemblies in there to, work on plays, productions, additional opportunities. So the cafeteria is definitely a big issue. But I'd also point out that Rose Gardens is split half and half, Hilldale and Woodmont. But I understand your concern about the apartments. Anyone else? Mike?
Yes, I have a couple of things. First, I just want to reiterate, I do agree with Mike Palmer's comment about the cafeterias, which should be part of it. Just from my experience walking through Hilldale, as an example, that gymnasium is remarkably small compared to the gyms in the other buildings. For them not to have an extra space is really doing a disservice to the kids there. So I think if we're going to move forward with a referendum in the classrooms, we should incorporate a cafeteria type space in the schools as well. The other comment is, if we can go back to the William Mason diagram, because the description says 6 additional classrooms, but I'm counting 12 spaces. And if you just clarify what those other 6 spaces are, because I can't really tell what is classroom space and what's not.
Yeah, I mean, some of them would be bathrooms, some would be closets, some would be like a utility room, for like the technology and stuff like that.
Why would William Mason have all these extra closets or bathrooms versus the other elementary schools, which are growing at the same rate?
Yeah, I mean, Will could maybe speak a little bit more, but just in general, it depends on location, where they're located, where kids are, and other specifications.
So William Mason includes 4 classrooms, which will be closest to the existing building. And then the additional spaces you see are 2 restrooms and 4.
Good morning.
Microphone. Does that work? Hello? Okay. So the 4 spaces towards the existing building are the classrooms and 2 restrooms. The spaces in the middle between those 4 classrooms and the red area of the cafeteria are small group instruction rooms, like breakout spaces. This building shows the blue, which is the renovating 3 classrooms, and it needed additional new square footage for those breakout spaces, where the other buildings had more interior spaces that could be renovated to small group instructions.
Just quick, Will, you said William Mason is getting 4 classrooms?
Or 6.
He said 4, but he said 6.
I think what he was referring to is the large boxes. The 4 large boxes are full classrooms. The ones that are split in half that are closest to the cafeteria are small group instructions, but they are built with the same size as 2 more classrooms. We just divided them in half, which makes for 6 boxes meaning 6 classroom boxes, 2 of which are being split in half as small group instruction.
So not to belabor the point, but the other small blue boxes are too small to be called classrooms?
Those,
Or are there blue boxes on the schematics of other elements?
right, and depending on what those rooms are, currently those rooms are being divided in half with temporary walls, so we would be converting those back to regular classrooms, and then that's what the 2 or 4, because it's being divided in half, spaces would replace. But they have permanent walls, which would provide a better educational environment.
Christine?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. I have a question. Special education classes, autistic classrooms. Do you know specifically where those classrooms are in our district in the elementary schools?
Yeah.
Are there specific classrooms for
special
that?
ed?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Are they designed any differently than the regular ed classrooms?
Some are, some aren't, correct. Some have temporary walls or bookshelves separating a room, and others are more permanent. Thanks.
Okay, I wanted to ask that question. But I do have a different question. I have concerns about the unit ventilators and the costs. That is a big concern of mine. The elementary schools, and I don't know if anyone can help me, but I remember back in the 90s when all the development boomed in Montville Township. It was the condos, the townhouses, and all of the homes. Were our elementary schools ever expanded during that time or after that time during that big boom?
Yes, some of them.
They were, some were. That's when we got the big boom. And I know that we have unhoused students, but I'm not sure if we have as many unhoused students today as we did then. That I'm a little, that's my concern too. It's a lot of money. And I'm just having a lot of trouble.
Is there a specific thing that, being that we have the architect here?
Oh, yes,
that we could answer? I can't answer unhoused students in the 90s, but regarding the unit ventilators?
No, it was really more, and you answered my question about the topography. What schools are, might be more difficult to building out?
Just a hitchhike on what Christine's saying. I hear what you're saying, but what's that got to do with the renovation of the HVAC? I'm a little confused. The buildings are old, we need the HVAC. I hear what you're saying about the big increase in people in the 90s, but if we have 7 buildings, 2 of which have been done, I don't understand why the other 5 buildings that are going to need renovations to the HVAC system, I don't understand why you don't want, I'm just not putting you on the spot.
Well, because it's
hear a
not,
reason why.
well, because I had asked that question. These are not emergencies, that these can be done 1 year at a time. That's what I'm saying.
Let's take care of that question first, okay? You had 2 questions, so let's get the HVAC question. Gene, you want to explain why, or? Let's go with HVAC first.
Okay, so regarding HVAC and a referendum, the state offers a program called debt service aid. So going to the state and bonding this, the state will contribute up to 40%. So on the numbers shown, I don't have the total.
Will, do you mind sitting down and just using the other mic, please? Just join us, both chairs.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mark, I didn't get you out of there.
So the state. Good. All right. The state offers a program called debt service aid. So eligible projects for renovations are eligible up to a 40% contribution. So going out for this gets the district the economy of scale getting it all done relatively quickly instead of budgeting over many years, and also getting that 40% contribution, maintaining the capital reserves for other projects.
So you're looking at several $1 million you'll be getting from the state for doing the same projects we have to do no matter what over the next 5 years.
Correct.
All right, so I think the second part of that question relates to doing it as they break down versus doing it all at once. And if we did it, there isn't a will we do it or won't we do it. We will eventually do it because they're breaking down as we speak. So the question is, do we do it one at a time over a 10-year period until we eventually finish them all? Or do we try to do them in groups and economy of scale, as Will had mentioned? The advantage to economy of scale is one, buying more quantity, we get better pricing. And two, we are able to go and take part in the 40% match that we wouldn't be able to do if I was just buying one unit at a time, because we wouldn't be able to participate in the program. As much as 17 million on univentilators is, if we were to do it one at a time over the next 10 years, it actually would end up being more. One, because we have the element of not buying them in bulk, so we're not getting that bulk price. We would be having inflation play into the mix as if we go out 10 years from now, and we wouldn't be able to receive the 40%.
But Katine, are there grants that we can apply for every year that can help mitigate some of those costs? If there are, we don't know what they are. So we have participated in the ROD grants. We did go back and forth regarding how to do what we decided to put into ROD. We picked security-related stuff because of concern about security. We could look at this 17 million and say, all right, we could take some amount of these and put them towards RODs. We can still apply for RODs. But I need to be able to do my 60% match on it, and I won't have enough money to cover 60% of 17 million. So we wouldn't be able to do all that's here, we'd only be able to do some. And once we did that, that would then exhaust all of the money that we have put aside over the years for the purpose of capital. So that would hold all other capital projects until we could accumulate enough money to actually be able to afford to either continue doing these or then go and do something else. Just as a kind of scope of where we are, when I got here 6 years ago, we had almost nothing in capital reserve and maintenance reserve. And over these past 6 years, we've been building to the point that we are. And even then, I can't pay for anything as large as this. So it would take a very long time to do that through that. Now, could next year the state of New Jersey or somebody else provide a grant that we could use? Yes, that's always possible. But I don't know of any right now, other than the RODs.
HVAC?
Yes. What's the timing with that 40% grant? So we would have to go out to referendum with the full 17 million, knowing that likely we would get it, or once you apply, like that number could be reduced by 40% before we go out to referendum, could be
So you're doing two events at the same time. The first event is requesting voters to approve the raising of taxes for the purpose of $17 million worth, let's just say, of HVAC work for these univentilators. Of that, 40% will be covered by the state through debt service. So when we actually went to bond, which is what's producing the tax impact, we would only be actually bonding 60% of the cost. So although they're approving 17 million, they're only actually experiencing 60% of that in the raising or in us issuing bonds that would then result in the raising of taxes over the course of a period of bonds.
So if the voters approved it at a certain tax impact, when all is said and done, you'd be confident that the tax impact would be less, but we'd have to approve it at the higher level.
Yes, yes, yeah, and one of the things, so what are we waiting for when we submit everything to Trenton Department of Ed, and we're asking that for that next meeting on the 14th. What we're asking is to submit the 17 million so that Trenton can review it. When they review it, they will look at, of the projects included in that, what projects are considered eligible for the debt service aid. And then they come back to us and they issue us what's called a preliminary eligibility cost letter, and then a final eligibility cost letter, which will identify what the actual amount of debt service aid we would receive on that 17 million. So before we can proceed to even consider what the question that would go on a ballot would be, we would need that letter at hand. So you would know how much of the 17 million was getting covered by debt service and how much was actually going to have to be raised in taxes.
So
I have a question, Dave, or a comment? Isn't it true, though, that if we were to utilize the ROD grant, that, and we would have to put up the 60%?
Yes.
But my understanding is that the state won't allow you to bond for that, for your share of the grant.
Correct.
You have to have the money in hand.
Correct.
So there would really be no question, you have to have the money in hand.
Yes, so what we would end up doing is if we decided to take some portion of the 17 million and apply for the ROD grant, in which we would still get the 40%, we would have to have our 60% share in our reserves in order to fund it. And we would not be able to then go and bond that portion. So let's just say I had enough to cover $10 million of this 17. Once we pull that $10 million worth of projects off of the table that's referendum, it can't go back. It has to go to ROD, and then if in fact we don't get the ROD grant, which is possible, then we just don't get to do it. Then it falls back into it stays on the long-range facility plan list, and we figure out what we do next when we figure out what we do next.
Okay, so getting to your next question about, there's one more question about HVACs?
That questions tie in all together.
No, HVACs, yeah.
Well, it has to do, I guess my feeling on the issue is that it makes sense to go for 40% subsidy now, rather than later on the HVAC and all of the other things that qualify for 40%. We can get those done now. The cafeterias to me are more of a want. I respectfully disagree with some of the other board members. And I think if we save the money on the HVACs and the other capital improvement, we can then do the cafeterias in the upcoming years. Since we're not going to be getting 40% savings on those anyway, we can use our capital budget on those projects.
Interesting. Okay, so we're going to get over to your question about topography, right? You had questions about
Topography.
yes. You want to get to that now?
I'm sorry.
So there's another one on HVAC. Come on.
I just want to, John, when you were talking about 40%, are you talking about the ROD grant or the SDA grant?
SDA.
Oh,
That's the one that goes along with the wraparound, right?
Yes.
I actually want to touch on something that was said a little bit earlier, and it's not about HVAC. I support the HVAC going to the referendum, and we have been working towards updating and making more efficient, bringing efficiency into our HVAC system now for a number of years. And we've been making great progress, and it saves us money to have an efficient system. It just does, and so I support having HVAC in the referendum. But I did want to ask Dr. Norman, regarding the use of space, and just to clarify what Christine was asking earlier, there certainly was a boom of building and occupancy in the 90s. My children were part of that. But I believe the use of space in classrooms was a lot different then versus now. I think there's much greater need for special education. You have it here in your PowerPoint from a couple of weeks ago, and you described it, but I'll let you answer.
No, you're exactly right, and that's talking about in the past 10 years, we are using the space of the elementary schools totally differently than we did just 10 years ago. So we brought more special ed students in, which is great, but this requires space. We brought more staff members in to service all our students with social workers, occupational therapists, BSI, ELL, all these different people that are in there helping our students learn and educate them. So they require space. And then we've been using a lot more of these rooms. So we've increased the number of special ed rooms by 55%, and we're utilizing these rooms differently than we did just 10 years ago. So that is one of the contributing factors of the issues of the overcrowding of the house students.
I have the same question, Christine, because we've had higher enrollments in the district, but I think Dr. Norman laid it out in one of his PowerPoints. I think our special ed population on this one, okay,
It's this one
has increased 65%.
Of the people that we brought back into the district, not our special ed hasn't gone up 65%. Correct.
So now getting back to poverty.
If one, I think it was 1 or 2 schools, they had a lot of rock, that is not going to cost us more money with excavation, correct?
So excavation in rock does cost more. So depending on how the building is designed. So if we're building into the earth, there is a much higher excavation cost. If we can build on top of that and ramp up to the new addition, we can stay with that. So additional due diligence will be required to do probes and some test pits to determine what's underneath the grass in some areas to economically design some of these additions. So there may be some interior ramps to circumvent excessive excavation costs.
And actually, I had to follow up on that. There were, for instance, Hilldale. You're bringing the classrooms forward toward the parking lot. So the classrooms are literally like right up against the road. You have to modify the road. You have to actually move the road in order to accommodate some of these classrooms or the cafeteria. Why can't you build behind or to the side, or why have you looked at each of the, and follow that, have you looked at each of the elementaries and tried to determine where you can? I know, for instance, at the Woodmont drawing, you showed us where there's wetlands and where it's difficult down there, but some of the other schools, obviously, I can't see below the ground. So have you looked to see where you can build, and how do we know that's the best spot that you chose?
So if we go back to the Woodmont map that was early on in the presentation. Perfect. We have generated images similar for all 5 elementary schools, and they all have very common occurrences regarding either wetlands, historic fill, rank 1 through rank 4 endangered species, and all of those have different setbacks. So looking at the image on the screen, on the west side of the campus, we can see that there's historic fill and rank 5 endangered species, which is a federally listed endangered species, and that is a type of, I think, a bat. Actually, a bat.
We have endangered species
We
here?
have multiple endangered species and multiple endangered habitats surrounding all 5 of your elementary schools, including wetlands. And all of those habitats have federal or state mandated setbacks. So on the lower field to the west, I actually can't do anything within 150 feet of either side of those colored patterns. So on the top half, you have wetlands. 150 feet south of that, I can't do anything. And on the south, you have the rank 5 federally listed endangered species. So north of that, so that entire baseball field is basically going to be a baseball field forever. But that is what it is. It's also in wetlands, so there's DEP requirements to even go through in addition. So on the Woodmont site, we'd be limited to the east side, which is the main entrance, kind of where the existing parking lot is. So the building would go in the footprint of the parking lot, more or less, and then a new parking lot would be constructed in the grass area between the existing parking lot and the road.
Thank you. More questions? Wait, anyone else? Yes. You already spoke. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet?
But I have an architect question.
No, actually Christine was asked first.
Real quick, you're digging up the dirt. Are you testing the dirt for contaminants? Because you're going to be at a school.
Yes, so all soil will be tested before it is either brought on the site or removed from the site, which is mandated.
That's great. And then if you find something, do you then come to the town? Or do you obviously go to Dr. Gorman, but what's the process?
The process would be to work with those grounds business office, superintendent, and the licensed site remediation professionals to determine the next course of action, whether that is additional testing, removal of material, or putting in a geotechnical cap in that building above that cap.
Thank you.
John.
It looks like all the drawings were designed with the cafeterias, in mind when drawing them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if the cafeterias were eliminated, would there be more advantageous spaces to build? And I'm looking at Woodmont as an example. There's a lot of space in that courtyard area, and I was there recently. I know it was originally said that it was kind of small, but there's a lot of space there, and 4 additional classes can be put in that area and no cafeteria. Would that eliminate the need for the excavation for the parking relocation?
So when you reference the courtyard, are you the grass area between the 2 building additions?
Yeah.
So if we build in that area, you would be eliminating all the natural light for the classroom on either side of that. And that would be depressing, but you should not be removing natural light from that.
Well, using that logic then too, on Hilldale, if you eliminate the cafeteria, would you put the 4 classrooms where the cafeteria is proposed to be? Since you're creating one of those classrooms there.
So on Hilldale, the current design actually has windows on the left and right side of those classrooms. So in the new courtyard being created and on the exterior building, there are windows. Just on the face of the existing classrooms facing the parking lot, there will not be windows, but the other 2 sides will.
So I see the blue classroom, the one beneath it, the one to the left, and the one right to the left of it.
Those would all be windowless now.
So can I use the cursor to help point?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So this area right here, where the cursor is, that is not a classroom, that's a courtyard. So the room tag or the notation here is pointing to the blue box. This is an existing classroom. This is an existing classroom. They both have windows on the outside, left and right. So there will be no windowless classroom in that room.
And can you point out where the windows are in the orange area?
The windows in the orange area would be all along the south here, facing the parking lot.
And there's one classroom that's smaller in the orange area, or Hilldale gets 4, and that's.
So that's in this iteration on the screen, that's a proposed new main office. So relocating the existing main office and then renovating the main office to.
And the blue right above that one would be the main office going back to the classroom, or no? Because it has a courtyard.
Yes.
So going back to Woodmont though, is there not enough space to make a skinny hallway and 4 classrooms in that courtyard space? I think you could still have windows in every classroom. They'd be skinny little spaces of grass. I don't know if that would be enough light.
So just around
that's
the
what I'm asking.
this area here.
Yes, correct. You make a hallway and then.
No. So the area between those 2 window walls is roughly 30 to 50 feet. And by fire code, if I create a courtyard, I would need to create the minimum 20 feet. So I would be approaching the fire area, so if somebody did happen, the fire could jump across that. You would have a very narrow alleyway, and the shadows would actually cascade on any windows that would not have an alleyway.
By the way, John, if you haven't been there, that's actually not quite the scale on the drawing. The courtyard is very narrow. It does look narrow.
I ran across America last week.
Karen?
Dr. Gorman, if we didn't do the cafeterias and we experience the expected growth that we are, what would the consequence be? Where would the kids eat? How would you divide up the lunch hour?
Right, so they have to just go to the gymnasium where they are right now, and it would just add more constraints to the schedule and pack them in a little bit more into that gymnasium area to eat.
It would add more what to the student's stress?
The constraints to the schedule.
And also right now those gyms are gyms, they're educational space, and greater kids, more lunchtime, we cut down on the amount of time using for their as a gym. No.
Yes.
Michelle.
Just two thoughts. As a parent who was in the school at Cedar Hill where my kids went, I always felt that we were very fortunate. I saw the advantages to how the cafeteria was used. I believe the addition to Cedar Hill was one of those 90-room, additions. And I know that we had a lot more flexibility in our schedule in terms of gym time, multi-purpose room use of it. And so I support us, if it's possible with this project, getting the other elementary schools to cafeterias, because I think it is something that should be in all of them. And to me, with the HVAC, having seen over the years, what happens when they fail, they're not up to top quality, and the kids' instructional time is impacted. Kids have to potentially move classrooms, or they're uncomfortable in the classrooms, and it's the quality there, the efficiency. Not doing it now when we get 40%, to me, it just seems very logical to take care of it now.
Mike?
Just one thing about Woodmont too. One of the things I noticed going on at Woodmont is they're so strapped for space that they're doing band and orchestra in the hall. Is that right, Jimmy? So, as far as I'm concerned, that extra room to do that's not a luxury item. That's something you need for music education.
Ever have said, Christine?
I do have one comment. I'm kind of in agreement with John. It's huge in this number, and I'm just concerned that we're just trying to do too much, almost like a wish list. I think security is so important for these kids. That's the number one thing that we promise them. Classroom size to support our special education students. I do think the cafeteria is a wonderful thing, but so many children have gone through the Montville school system without having that, and I just think it's just a lot for the taxpayers. And that is also our concern besides the children, because their parents pay for those taxes. And I want people to be able to stay in this town once their kids graduate and move on. And so that is a big concern with me. I want what the kids need, and really not try to go beyond that.
Well, I remember as a kid, a while ago, we didn't have AC. We didn't have no stinking AC in the schools. But I remember the teacher turning the lights off. We all put our heads down on the desk. We got towels from the water fountain come on our heads to try to keep cool. Because it was getting to be 90 degrees, 90 plus degrees. There were times where the schools were actually shut because of heat. And I hate to see something like that happen here because we don't have HVACs working for the kids. I understand the cost, but like John said, 40% off. Yeah, I know it seems like a wish list thing, but 40% off, that's a bargain. So.
And just, go ahead,
I just want to address Christine's and John about the cafeterias. So if we're increasing enrollment, that puts, as Dr. Gorman said, a great strain on our schedules. Right now, they do lunch in an hour at Hilldale and Woodmont. That's not going to happen. So I don't know without that extra cafeteria, so that that's separate from the gymnasium, how we would schedule PE for students so that all kids would have it there if they couldn't go outside and it was snowing or, rain, we would have to be doing PE in the classroom because they just would not be able to schedule lunches and PE with more students. If we had 4 classrooms per grade, they wouldn't be able to do it. So something would have to give, and kids have to eat lunch, so then those rooms would not be able to be used for gym, and I don't know how we would schedule that. Also, students need 150 minutes of PE and health per week, so we'd be out of compliance on that end as well.
Yeah, always.
So I just want to go back to the financing and stuff. So what we're asking the board is take a look at this, allow us to submit these drawings and proposals down to the state, and then we're going to go to the bond council and figure out the financing for all these projects. And that will be presented to the board in the next month or so to figure out what the tax impact would be and things like that. So there's a lot of unanswered questions about, I know there's a sticker shock here, but there's a lot of questions that will be answered in the next couple of weeks, if not month or so, that will hopefully put this in a little better light for us to understand how this will individually impact us all.
Are there any other questions about this presentation? Anyone? Mike?
Just to clear that, I thought I understood before, maybe I don't. So next week, we're going to know for a fact that the cafeteria is going to happen.
You are, we're going to ask you to submit all of this down there. This will be, I think, 24 individual projects that get submitted to the state. The state will then review all this stuff. How do you package it into 1 question, 2 questions, 3 questions is up to the board. It's also, if you wanted to eliminate some of these things off of the proposed projects that we're asking, that is also at the will of the board. The only thing you cannot do is add to this. So you can't go above and add 10 more classrooms or whatever else you want to do. So you can't add, you can subtract, and you can package it however you want, and that would give us the next couple of months to figure that out.
Then down the road, we're actually going to have a vote as to what's finally in and what's finally in.
Correct. And then you vote on that, and then we come up with the exact wording that would go out to the public and say, this is what the questions would be. And you would know by then how much money are we getting from the state that would offset this a large amount right now.
What's the timetable on that?
All within the next couple of months. We hope to have this all finished, let's say by July, that's our hope.
In terms of the way when we talked about meeting every first meeting, we said that April would be the time when we would have the finance team come and speak regarding what would be the possible probable amounts received in debt service aid. So how much then would we then be asking for an issuance or multiple issuances of debt that would then be timed at certain times based on the projects we're talking about, and then what their tax impacts would be at different moments in time. And that was, the plan was to have them come for April. So that's April 11th.
Yeah, so my understanding is this, of the 24 submissions that we need to give Trenton in the very near future, there are going to be submissions with cafeterias, without cafeterias. My ask of the board and the architects would be to just give a second look, if we're going to just eliminate cafeterias and that somehow passes our board's vote down the line, let's submit drawings that are drawn with that purpose in mind, not just Xing off a red space on the plan submitted. Let's design a plan, that's best designed without the cafeterias.
Okay.
Will, why don't you explain a little bit about how we package this? Because I think that's going to answer John's question.
Sure. So the way that we came up with 24 packages is broken out. Each building it has its own state number. So minimally, we would start with 1 application per building. So looking at Cedar Hill, for example, the classroom, I'm sorry, that's not actually, let's do Woodmont. If we do 1 application for Woodmont, it would include the classrooms, the cafeteria, the site work, the interior renovations, the security vestibule, and HVAC. So that's 6 different projects, and I could simply do one application. However, because we want the flexibility with the question, we're going to break them all out individually. That allows the DOE and the state to know exactly what's in each application financially and pinpoint exactly what the debt service aid is for each of those projects. So it gives the flexibility in July, August to structure the question and move things around question 1, question 2, however it is, and the debt service aid goes with that. Additionally, there are some nuances with debt service aid and other fees that the state charges to review applications. So educational projects and non-educational projects are separated as well, so to reduce the financial impact of the board. And that means that a classroom project, the state charges a final review fee to review that project. HVAC project, there is no fee. So we're breaking that up so you don't incur additional costs from the state.
So it's sort of like an a la carte menu that
Exactly.
So once you've submitted everything to the state, we have some time in terms of formulating the question. Can projects be eliminated at that point? So if we decide we don't want the cafeterias, you're going to send them with the cafeterias, I'm assuming.
So we're breaking out the classroom versus the cafeteria is completely separate. So yes, you can eliminate the application for the cafeteria in its entirety.
We don't have to do that next week.
No, you don't do it next week. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure that the question got answered. You're looking at wood bonds, and I understand the projects we've broken out into separate pieces for the debt service and all that stuff. But for the actual site plan itself, is there any issue if we move forward with just the 4 classrooms or 5 classrooms for Woodmont, that they can be put in a footprint where the cafeteria is? Is there?
Yes. So we have.
If we want to swap the two and say we want the classrooms back there and the cafeteria on this side, we can do that.
Yeah. So nothing we submit to the state at this point is set in stone. These are called schematic applications. So they're very preliminary. So we're submitting square footage and program. So as long as we stay within those confines, it can be a straight line, it can be a circle, it can move up and down and around. This is not set in stone. This is just scope of work, associated cost, and associated square footage.
All right, but Will, can I just clarify? However, and correct me if I'm wrong, we cannot decide to add 8 classrooms to Woodmont.
Correct. So again, it goes back to program. So the program is locked into whatever the program is that we submit. So for this, it would be the 5 classrooms and the number of interior renovations.
Any other board questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up for public participation. If you have a question about this presentation, I encourage you to come up. I'll put the microphone back. Please try to limit your questions to 5 minutes, and please give us your name and address if you would like to make any comments about this. No one? Got you?
Go ahead.
Good evening. Does it work? Okay. I just want to say that for the future.
I'm sorry, can your name and address?
My name is Hector Montero Jr. I live at 22 Mary Drive here in Tualatin. I just wanted you guys to know for the board, I appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing for what is needed in our town. But moving forward, as the town reaches out to you, I beg you, please say to them, we need to slow down the building in this town because our schools can't handle it. Not even counting the other things between ambulance, police, and everything else. We have a great volunteer system in our town. If we keep building, we're going to lose that. And there's going to be even more costs. But when I questioned the town, they said that the district said that there was not going to be any more problems with population growth and everything else in our schools. So in the future, we need to tell the town, hold up. We have to slow everything down. I was told, you know, that there was going to be no hardship, you know, moving forward if they keep building. All right? And the town, when I was told, was they did not get a response from the school system if it was going to be a problem. It's evidently a problem. So we need to slow down the building.
That might have happened 6 months ago or a year ago, I don't know.
Yes.
That hasn't happened in the past 8 months. We actually have a great rapport with the town.
Okay.
We've been communicating. All our presentations, including this one, is on our website, and all our discussions have been on there as well. So we have been in communication, but I hear your point. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everything.
Have you got anything about this?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know who they spoke to.
Okay.
So you know, certainly we would have welcomed that communication, but I don't know. I'm not saying they didn't speak to anyone. I'm just saying I don't know.
Well, that's what I was told at the meeting when they were bringing up, you know, asking for permission to build at different sites.
Right.
All I'm saying is, if we keep building the way we're building in this town, we're going to have major problems in the educational system. Right now, we have a great school system, and I would like to keep it that way.
And just to build off of your point, two things. One, we are seeing an increased migration pattern to the town. And that's what Dr. Gordon in this last presentation showed. People are attracted to the town for many reasons, but most especially the school system. So we're seeing that. We're also seeing, as that gold cover there shows, the growth increase. The birth rate has increased as well. So as people have moved out, people are now moving in with families of 2 or 3. And it's not just the purple section of the new housing. We're also seeing new construction houses going around as well. So it's a trifecta of a lot of reasons what's going on here, which is a compliment to the town, but then it causes additional pain too. So I hear you. You're correct.
But thank you to all the hard work you guys have been doing.
Thank you for your comments very much.
Take mine?
No.
Okay, all right. So, good evening, Tuesday.
Grab that one. You can stand with it.
I just wanted to ask you to speak a little more about the security improvements.
Sure. So one of the concerns that we've heard over the past year is, you know, how can we fortify our schools a little bit more, make them a little more safe? And one of the suggestions from the town police, the chief, as well as in all our meetings, is creating these security vestibules. You see the one that's being built right now in the Czar. We have another one that's going to be built at Cedar Hill over this summer. And what they do is a person would be buzzed into this area, but they can't go beyond this, you know, this enclosed area until their credentials are checked and all that kind of stuff. If they have to drop off some kind of papers or whatever they have to drop off, it would be kind of almost like a bank teller slide underneath a glass partition, and then we could easily grab that stuff. Once the person has, you know, been vetted, then we would buzz them in a second time, and then they can come and enter into the building. These have proven to be very secure ways to, you know, prevent unwanted people from coming into the buildings, and it's one of the top suggestions from the police department as well.
I would point out, I mean, you can see where we have been also working. We've got projected completion at Cedar Hill. That's going to be coming as part of another project that we're doing there. So these are things that we're looking at, and we are definitely going to get them in.
And we have up there the project completed. Those are the ones that are ongoing right now and going into the summer. This is money that we're using from our capital reserves. So when we've been fiscally conservative or responsible over a number of years, we have this money in our hands that we're able to knock off a lot of these projects. You know, whether it be the athletic fields, security vestibules, or even just the HVAC systems as we try to chip away at a lot of these projects. But you get to a certain point when some of these projects become so large that we have to go and ask for some extra help from the community because it would just take too many years to complete them all.
So this gets back to the question about doing the HVACs all at once. You know, if we were to do HVACs on our own, well then we wouldn't be able to add these vestibules. We wouldn't have the money in the reserves to add those projects. So that's another reason for going out for the HVACs on our referendum, so we can reserve our money for other important projects that come along. Like,
well, projects that don't drain our reserves.
Don't drain our reserves. Any other comments from the public? You can pick it up.
Scrap.
Scrap it.
Thank you. Scott Riato, MTHS history teacher, MTA president. Has the district calculated roughly, approximately, its staffing needs to accommodate this enrollment? And if so, what is the district's plan to recruit staff to accommodate this increased enrollment?
Yes, so at the elementary level, we'll be looking at additional staff over the next 5 years, but it depends on how it all rolls out. So when the demographer did his report, he's giving us an average, and he kind of spaces it out over the whole, all 6 years at the elementary level. So you just don't know if you're going to get a set of triplets or something like that at one level or something. But we would be looking at additional staff that we would have to absorb in our budget. That could be done through attrition or breakage with some staff members retiring. So as you see the increased population at the elementary level, you are going to see a decrease at the high school level. So that maybe you might not need as many teachers there. You might be able to offset that a little bit. As for recruiting, you know, we're going to keep on trying to do that the best we can. We're going to, Dr. Casey, Dr. Shorter and I have talked about this. We've, you know, looking into lots of different ways, and we're going to continue to try to recruit the best as we always have in the future. But it is a good point you bring up. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
My name is Laura Gomez. I live on 11 Rutledge Road. Thank you for all that you do. I'm an educator myself, so I understand these are a lot of difficult decisions. If all this is passed to start construction, when is the anticipated construction going to occur? And will it impact the current students who are there that would have to be moved for those construction sites ongoing?
No, it would not impact them. So we looked at a lot of different options. So the construction would be ongoing while class is in session, but the building would be separate from the actual school day. So you won't have to worry about that. It depends on which referendum date we hit and if it passes. If it does hit any one of these, like if you hit September or November, we can start that following June or July, you know. If you hit December, it might go a little bit later. You might be able to get a little bit of that following summer, or it might go into a little bit of September, October that following year.
And how long is the construction anticipated to take?
2 years plus?
Roughly 2 years based on preliminary schedules.
And the housing that's already currently being built to, which are on the Woodmont side, it's anticipated 23 to 24 people can start moving in.
Correct.
So if you run out of space before the construction is done, is that when you're...
We always have space. Every child will always be educated. We'll always find space for that child. It might be a little more crowded than what you used to, but they will always be educated and have a home there.
Would that be increasing with that size?
Yes, you would have to do that.
And
Correct.
what would the max be for the elementary students?
It wouldn't exceed the board policy right now of, it varies per grade level, but I think it's 24 to 26.
One last question, the projections that you were showing for how many students may be enrolled in the schools. Is that 100%, 90%, 80% that, you know, it's not going to be even more because there's 2-3 bedrooms that are in, you have a lot more kids than you're anticipating. Is the construction going to be enough?
So at the bottom there, the little footnote shows that statistical forecasting has a 1% error plus or minus per year. So it could be up to 5 years if you have a 5% statistical error. So that means you probably have 20 kids plus or minus. If this is based on his numbers, if you go by some other numbers that some of the developers said, it might be a little lower. But either way, you're still looking at 300 to 400 kids coming into the district, you know, with that error.
Yeah, I also worry about that. I mean, do we have enough classrooms? But right now, our demographer says yes. So it should be good.
Right, and they only predict up to 5 years. So what the trends could be, or if there's new housing going on in the future, we don't know. Luckily, you can see some of the schools, there is still room you could build on if you had to in the future, but that's so far out, you can't predict that right now.
That's it's far out. So we don't pay attention. Okay, are any other questions from the public? No? Okay, close public session. Let's go. We have consent resolution. Actually, just the only thing that's on the consent resolution is section J, the harassment and disability report. So, roll call vote, please. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman? Yes. Dr. Portolino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fana?
Yes.
Mr. Grau?
Yes.
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosino?
Yes.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Dr. Movrak?
Yes. Okay, section B, closed session, there's no closed session after this. Q, old business, any old business on the board? No. General forum comments, new business?
Oh, the musical was phenomenal at the high school. I think many of us saw it. It was fantastic. Congrats to all the performers, the band members, director, the staff. It was fabulous.
It's a great night, hope everybody saw it.
Yes. Okay. Section S, public participation. Is there anyone with any other comment not related to the presentations? Seeing none, ask for adjournment. Motion.
So
adjourned.
Thank you to the architects.
Thank you very much.